And welcome to another episode of Who Gives a Hoot. I'm Luke. That's Ryan. We're somewhat back to normal. Kyle's still off traipsing through Europe or something. Uh,
Bastard.
I mean, I think we both would rather be in Europe right now.
Yeah. I mean, I only call him a bastard because I'm jealous. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So we got some news. Union Omaha won a game. We'll talk a bit about that. We had
so last time you talked about, talked about a win streak last time, whether it's 2 or 3. Well, according to John, it was more than 2. We're on a win streak then, if it's John's rules.
Yeah, this is no longer a win stain. This is a win streak.
Do it, baby.
So we are Union Omaha officially on a win streak. That is newsworthy. Also, the unified team knocked out a win. So that is the unified team, I believe, is unbeaten overall in all competitions to date. And they've got their next game coming up August 9th in Colorado against the Switchbacks, who they 4-0. Great game there, great initiative. Absolutely love to see it. And then Union Omaha's first team had 4 players of the week, or 4 players on player of team of the week, and 1 on team of the week bench. Who do we have? Rashid?
Well, so first we had Rashid, which we always talk about Rashid not getting his team of the week glory, so he finally gets one. Got JP because JP just can't stop scoring headers.
Yep.
Dion, which I didn't get to watch the game all the way. We had a party for my in-laws, so I had to go watch it back and stuff. But I thought Dion had a really great match and looked really good. So I think it was a good team of the week. And then Dos Santos getting a brace, and luckily got a brace because his first celebration was not his Superman celebration. So for his second goal, he got to do the shirt rip, do all the fun stuff. But yeah, and Dos Santos getting on there, and then it was Burrito on the bench, right?
Yeah, Burrito on the bench. So let's just dive into that game. Dion had an amazing game. Noe got his club record goal. He is now the leading goal scorer in all competitions all time for Union Omaha, beating out former Owl Evan Conway. JP got his header in for his first goal. But so Noe's celebration was a little bit different this time. And going through his Instagram stories, because I mean that's what we do, is we troll everything for information. But I want to say it was his niece's birthday, and he signed. And he signed.
It was a niece or a family member. Kind.
Yeah, it's definitely not something I would have noticed in person unless I'd caught his stories. But he signed letter E. So history scoring goal that, scoring the text message, I'm going to score a goal for your birthday, and then does that and has brings the celebration home, like a class act all around. I mean, that kid is good. We knew that when Jay first talked about him, when Gary first talked about him, coming on last year, and he just continues to perform and continues to be an exemplary model of a Union Omaha player.
Yeah, I think what's cool about that story too is you see a lot of that stuff across the world. Stories get posted. guys like I think Jack Grealish had that one story where he met with the kid and he showed him the little dance and he did it out there. And you see different guys that do those things. And it killed me that I had to bring up Jack Grealish and he plays for City, so don't get me wrong. But I have a lot of respect. What's that?
You mean Jamie Tart?
Jamie Tart, yeah. But those are stories that you see all the time. A guy finds out his wife's pregnant and he does the cradle, or he puts the ball under his shirt or whatever for the celebration. So I think it's pretty cool when it's across all levels of soccer like that. And it's cool that Noe, one, made that promise, but two, once he did, still was thinking of that family member to be able to do something afterwards too.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like, just a great example of what we love to see out of the club, what we love to see out of our players. And ultimately, this game, while it was heated and the reffing was questionable, our guys performed, and they performed in a level that I'm happy to say they're on our team. Like, they're good players. I don't think we've ever really put it as they're anything but it just wasn't clicking. But the team as a whole looked good, even though we went down a player with Joe Gallardo getting a red card, being into it by Terzaghi. It was a penalty. Like, there was contact in the box.
And here's I don't like this part of the game, but unfortunately it is part of the game. Yeah. And getting baited into something like that, especially I think because it was Alex gave up the penalty, right? To those things, it's those types of things people get baited into. And I think that when they know certain players will react in certain ways, they can really bait guys into that. And Joe plays, he likes the pressing game. He plays aggressively. And I think that smart players and experienced players know how to get guys like that to do something they shouldn't. I think it was a quick red card. I think we can talk about the historical significance of this, though. The fact that I think we did the math on Discord and we're 7-1-1 all time when going down a man, which is insane to have 7 wins all time. The league record, and I mean, just the fact that we scored 3 goals in the second half unanswered, down a man, this is where the size of the pitch, sometimes being at home, can be at our advantage. That even though you're down a man, it doesn't feel that way when you're on a smaller pitch versus those big, huge, widespread ones. Because the game's so much more compact, you're able to move the ball a little bit better and play the game you want to play.
So tonight, we're recording this on Wednesday, what is it, 12th?
Yep.
There was the Union Omaha team talk with Luca and Marco, our Italians. And was talking a little bit to Luca after, because he used to play for Tucson. And famously, in semifinal for the 21 run up to us winning the cup, we played Tucson in a thriller of a match for us, not so much for them. And they'd gotten a red card there. And like talking to him a little bit about how red cards really affect the game and everything. And it was like, it seems to be a Union Omaha specialty, because he said it didn't feel necessarily as beneficial for Tucson as it seems to have felt for Union Omaha over the years, playing on a smaller pitch with less men. So I don't know if it's just our guys are so used to playing on the pitch, and our guys really are getting used to playing on Werner Park's pitch, but that level uh, comfortability, just being able to manage the game better. And second half is that that red card was issued to Joe Gallardo in the 37th minute, I want to say.
Yeah.
So close enough to halftime. There, it was hot enough out that there were uh, no, no, there weren't hydration breaks for this one.
That was a really nice night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was nice out.
Yeah, it was 70 degrees at kickoff.
They base it on humidity, so like it's kind of always kind of.
It's the Midwest. We have humidity all the time.
Yeah. Well, and again from the Southeast, so yeah, they've got humidity literally all the time.
What's interesting too is I think you can't even say that it's a style difference because like we won 6 of those 7 games playing J style.
Yeah.
You know, now granted those red cards wasn't a championship game when we were up and we were dominating the game anyway and it was late night match. You know, but I think that one thing that can be an advantage with Dom's system is when you control the ball, even if you're down one player controlling the ball, you're comfortable in possession. It's not going to feel like you're down a player all the time. And so I think that there was just some good factors there. And honestly, I think that they were just due a performance like this, whether it was with 10 or 11 on the field. We've been creating chances. We've been getting stuff into the box. They've been getting close and close and close, and we just they weren't finishing. This was a game where we got that. We got to see the Dos Santos that I think everybody expected to see this whole season. You know, this championship level guy that was a high caliber player for many years. That's what he can bring us is those types of goals. They're not going to be pretty, but they go in.
No, and I mean ultimately we don't need pretty goals. We need goals, and we need goals that are unanswered goals. And that's what he brought us. That's what Noe brought us. I mean, unfortunately, JP's was answered, but it was answered off a penalty that I think Rashid would have had that covered had there not been the slide in. But it happened. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to like dig too much into this because Rich had such a great write up there. And Brian put out a great write up on the blog about the fan environment because it was a season high attendance. We had, I think, want to say 3,700 in attendance. Yeah, just great night for soccer. The team performed well. The smoke was on point. There was a lot of it. And just the energy was there. 2 wins leading up to that. Coming into this, everybody just was feeling ready, and you could really feel the energy throughout the stadium. So just
well, and I think that's a good, you know, a couple quotes I saw from tonight's team talk, which by the way, if anybody wants to see some of it, I think Luke had put some stuff up there on our Instagram. But you know, I saw a couple of what can the fans do to keep helping out with the guys on the pitch, and they said keep bringing the energy, keep cheering tackles, keep cheering everything. You know, the support and the noise is what kept them going through that kind of rough patch we had, and I think that the proof is in the fact that 3,700 people are at this game, and we go down a man and we find a way to win the game and score 3 goals. Well, when you have more people and the crowd's louder, they're feeding off that energy, and that's that proof that we need. And we need people to keep coming out for Park. We need people to be cheering them on.
Definitely, and you know, there was a lot of talk in that team talk comparing fan interactions in Italy, where they're both from, both went through their training, versus fan interactions here, and how much more positive, but really how both countries build on the positives in a game and really can bring the team up. Unfortunate that my phone started overheating and everything cut out, but Marco had a story of uh, fans invading a practice and like disrupting a practice, which is not where LSU and Omaha fans want to get to, but like the other points put out there, levels of support and what we can really be doing in the stadium and in the community with them to really push forward and give them a understanding of the level of support they have around them. It is going to be absolutely huge going into the second half of this season for us.
Absolutely.
So again, Rich did a fantastic write-up. Covers a lot of this, some great quotes from JP, from Coach, from Noe in there. Go read it. A lot of very positive reactions there, but that was prior to Northern Colorado getting their 10th straight unbeaten game last night, on Tuesday of this week, before we play them on Saturday at Northern Colorado home.
Yeah.
They won 4-2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a shootout. It was crazy.
Like they're the team to beat right now. And we're coming in on a hot streak, a winning streak. I think our guys in their best form they're going to be in. But
yeah,
none of them have played there before. There's no pitch familiarity at altitude against a tough team with the Golden Boot leader. Like there are a lot of things working against us right now. I think our team is in sync enough that we're not going to see this as too much of a challenge, but it still worries me a bit.
Yeah, before we got on, you and I said this has been such a weird season because teams like Northern Colorado or 10-game unbeaten streak, draws and wins both in there. But I was chuckling a little bit when you said altitude because growing up in Nebraska in the 90s and they played Colorado every year, that was always the story before they played Colorado. Oh, they're going to play in the altitude. I mean, part of it is, yes, that can affect them, but we're mid-season. We got guys that are in amazing shape. This is their jobs. I think if that becomes an issue, then we probably have other issues down the line because fitness is going to be a question. I think that we couldn't be going in against an opponent like this in a better position than having 3 wins in a row and continually gotten better throughout those 3 wins. If we continue on this form, I think we're going to have a pretty good shot at winning this game. At worst, coming out of there at the draw, at least their unbeaten streak continues, but we don't leave with a loss.
Yeah, I could see a draw out of this. I don't want to see a draw out of this. I think our guys are better than a draw going into this.
Yeah.
Obviously, we won't have Gallardo unless his red card gets overturned, but I don't believe it will. No Chivani because Boy got a red card on the bench. Proud of him for that. Uh,
I
like,
was so confused when I was getting the hot mob update, and I was like, a red card, and I'm texting Ben, and I was like, what did he do? And Ben's like, he was talking shit to the ref from the bench, and I was like, what are we doing right now? Like,
well, and
oh my
apparently,
god.
uh, no, trying to get a little bit more clarity on it. Um, he just was consistently asking the assistant ref like what the calls were. Like it wasn't even like him saying anything bad because like Shivani's one of the nicest guys you can know. Like
Yeah.
it was, him just asking for clarity consistently. And I believe at one point he used an expletive trying to get clarity on a call. And
It is.
like instead of a yellow card, which would have been an appropriate response at that, or coming over and the center ref taking a moment to talk, it's a straight red. Eh, poor choice.
Yeah.
Choice.
Yeah, and I think this crew in the center in particular, from what I saw before the match, had a history of giving a lot of cards. So it shouldn't shock us too much that this guy was ready to just pull cards, even on people on the bench. I was just glad to hear when I saw it on FOTMOB and heard from Ben that it was somebody on the bench and not another player on the field. Because as much as I think we play well, and I don't know that we would have continued that with not.
I also with you on that. If I'd seen that on FOTMOB, not been watching the game, I would have been worried.
I was like, no.
So I've been trying to avoid the ref rants, but and we've mostly moved on from that game. But that ref lost control of the game. Like it was very early on, and the card started flying, and it just was not good. I think that puts some of our guys close to yellow card accumulation off of it, in addition to just the straight red cards. So something we've got to kind of keep an eye on going forward into the next couple games. Against NoCo, we need the physicality. Like we need to be unafraid, but we need to be smart.
Right.
We've given up too many penalties this season. Shido's a great goalkeeper, but penalties are not his forte. He needs 4 or 5 to get to the point where he can save one. As against Chicago, and without giving a penalty, I think what would that be, like 3 games we probably would have won this season.
Yeah, probably. I I think too the ref wasn't great, but being a more it's seemingly a more ill-disciplined team this season than we have been in the past. Um, you know, a lot more with some of the tackles, a lot more aggressive in some things, which I'm okay with aggressive play, but in this league, aggressive play can easily lead to what's happened with guys getting yellows. And some of these refs, because they're inexperienced, assume handing out a yellow early is going to make people behave. And that's not always the case. And sometimes you have to control the match by having a conversation or pulling one guy aside and be, look, man, I get you're frustrated, but you do this again, I'm going to have to card you, not just pulling cards right away. Because the other side of this is fans, players, Shivani, clearly, it becomes a thing where they're like, it doesn't feel consistent. So now they're asking constantly, why isn't that a yellow? Why was this? And it doesn't become because they pull so many cards. I mean, this guy had 20 yellows going into this game that he had handed out. That's a lot of yellows as a center going in halfway through a season.
Yeah. And that's what worries me going to Northern Colorado is it's if PROs to be believed, we've got a ref that has performed not super fantastically for us. Going to be there. Can we control our tempers? Can we come out of this without any cards? As you, I think it's been well documented over the 4 seasons. I don't mind a little bit of physicality. I don't mind some cards here or there, but when we've got refs that are very relaxed at handing out cards, guys who are not afraid to put in those challenges that are questionable enough to deserve a card, it puts our team into an awkward position as we get further into the season of, are you going to make the necessary play there to slow the ball up that get you a yellow and sit out the next game, or are you going to let that pass? Like, and going into Colorado, like going into Northern Colorado, you've got a team that is hot, has goal scorers, has people you need to be able to draw the yellow for, but where is that putting us?
Well, and you also run the risk at some point of becoming a reputation team. And if you're too aggressive and you have guys like that or refs like that, you run the risk of those guys just assuming that you have ill intent, or are more ready to hand out a yellow because, well, these guys get these all the time. And so we got to be aggressive to the point of pressing the ball and making people make mistakes, but not to the point of constantly fouling and getting that reputation. And unfortunately, some of the things that, even a poorly given red card gives this impression that we have players on our team that are hot-headed or too aggressive or whatever it is. And as the season wears on, the refs think about those things and they look at those things. They're human. They're gonna make some of that. They'll let some of that infiltrate their thinking, even though they shouldn't. But it happens.
Yeah,
and we know those teams across the world that are that way. They're going in, it's gonna be a tough game because this team is physical.
This is definitely a line of questioning. I'd like to see about getting Ray on for, because he's Ray Shirley, who's now going to be one of the 3 or 4 representatives of Midwest youth refs going to nationals. Obviously has better info, has a better take on this than you and I do as casuals. So we're going to earmark this, see if we can drag him on here to get the eyesight of the ref into it, so we're not just ranting for the sake of ranting. Let's talk
a ref.
Let's talk lineup for going into Saturday.
Well, it seemed like he was relying on Joe Gallardo quite a bit, so we got to figure that out. Because I don't know that Joe's is. If other ones haven't been overturned, I don't know that Joe's is getting overturned.
Yeah. The other thing to mention is Shaft apparently had some sort of contusion in practice, which will leave him out for a couple of weeks. So, we've got Gallardo on a red card, Shaft out with muscle injury, and then Shivani not being available at all.
We got death taxes and Cheeto in goal.
Yep. Death taxes, Cheeto.
I mean, Dion coming off a team of the week performance, I think it's hard to keep him off the pitch. I don't know with Dos Santos. This is where altitude and fitness come into play for me. Is Dos Santos is definitely not a 90-minute guy. To me, I know he just scored 2 goals, but to me, he's looked better coming on when other people are tired.
I like Dos Santos off the bench. He is a very good off the bench option.
Yeah.
Pedro was on the bench for this last game after his shoulder dislocation. So I wouldn't be surprised seeing Noe and Pedro starting. I think that would be a good option.
Isn't Pedro's thing something he's had quite frequently? That this
he's
isn't like a freak.
I unfortunately he showed up to the team talk not as a participant but as a bystander, and I forgot to ask him about where he was at on his recovery, but he seemed healthy. He seemed like he was not favoring one arm over the other. But it is one he's had a few times before as an injury, so sure. Hopefully he's more aware of how to recover quickly from it. But seeing Noe and Pedro up top, otherwise I think you've got to start Steinwasser with Joe Gallardo out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, JP's got to be out there. He's the captain now, I think.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know if giving him the armband has raised him to that next level, or if it just was they've seen this and so. But it's been a really weird coincidence if he's all of a sudden played the way goal scoring wise with the armband.
So I don't want to say it's the armband. I want to say it's him not playing a 6.
That's fair.
Like, you've had Connor playing the 6, and Connor has been doing fantastically as a 6. Love to see him out there. Him as
We're
a
all
6.
shocked by that.
Well, he's in a great distribution spot. He's not having to set himself up too much. Got himself an assist this last game. For like that just works well there. Luis had a hell of a game. Seeing him out there wouldn't be upsetting to me in the least. And Brito getting bench team of the week again. He's been flying under the radar a little bit this season. Hasn't been getting as many starts, but when he's out there, he's impactful. His on the ball skill has gotten significantly better, and his off the ball skill is like way he's reading the game has improved since last year. So like me, I think Pedro, if he's healthy, if not Steinwasser, Noe, then you've got Brito, Gil, JP, Connor at the 6. And I think our defense can't be changed. And it's kind of weird for me to say, like, 3 of our oldest guys out there, and I've harped on this a little bit. I wasn't sure they're 90 minutes fit, but if we're managing our subs well, subbing Gil off at 60 minutes, subbing Dion off at 60 minutes, I think we can do well there. And I think Connor can manage his fitness and the game better from that 6 role to play a full 90.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think even at the start of the season, when we started seeing some of these signings, that was one of the conversations we had was push JP further up, let Connor play a 6, let him be a distributor. I think when Connor's pushed up further, he wants to be a distributor, but the role they had him in didn't allow him to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think having him at the back playing that true six role allows him to just be the fulcrum in the back and pick which way the pendulum's going to swing at that point. Plus, he's a decent defender, decent enough defender that it gives you almost a fifth defensive guy back there that if there's a quick counterattack, if he's not pushing himself up, you essentially have a third center back there to be able to stop something, which helps our guys, especially back there with the way I think that's helped the way the defense has looked over the past few matches.
Yeah, and it definitely something I've been saying consistently throughout the season. We've not been controlling the midfield because we've been harkening back to that 2020 on every ESPN Plus broadcast. Control the midfield. Coach's notes, control the midfield. And we weren't for the first quarter of the season, first third of the season. I feel like we are now controlling the midfield. We are not only maintaining possession, but we are controlling the transition. And our defense is benefiting from that because we're not caught out of position too frequently. And that of all positions, that's helping our center backs, and then ultimately helping Shido because he's not having to rely on just himself. He has his center backs he can rely on. Lexi and Luca, they've been doing. It sounds like they could be a buddy cop duo, but they really have stepped up in a way that I was hoping they would, but it wasn't based on their previous performance. Was not expecting them to, and I'll admit I hit the panic button. Still not convinced it didn't need hit, but the fact that they have stepped up in a big way, we'll see how the rest of the season goes. But our defense seems like it's finally meshed. It's finally pulling together in the way that we need it to.
One, if what you and John talked about last week is what happened with having an open discussion in the locker room and having a frank conversation as a team in the locker room. Sometimes those things go poorly, but I think that we're seeing that sometimes you need that to be able to get to this point. And I think they all knew that they were a team capable of playing at this level, but something was holding them back, whatever that was. And they needed to hash that out as a team. And I think that we're seeing the fruits of that now. And we got half a season left, a little less, but we got half a season left. You can make a strong push for a home playoff game if you keep playing at this level, and do the typical thing: win at home, get points on the road, get a point here or there, get 3 if you can, and make a push for the playoff.
Something. I believe it was Luca said it. You can go check the Instagram, and because I believe I actually got this one on video there. With the ties we had, that string of ties, there's definitely like 3 of those games where it was something that was controllable, either officiant related, or something that just shouldn't have happened, flukes more or less. Unlucky plays, things that weren't related to the skill of the team that affected the outcome. And if we'd had 3 wins instead of 3 draws, we'd be third in the table right now. But talking
I was just gonna say, I know we go back to 2020 often, but the thing that always sticks out to me from that season is when that team was finding themselves and you're getting draws and not taking losses and you're at least gaining points. during those rough patches, once it clicks and you can start turning those draws into wins, this league that you can jump up this table very, very quickly. And that was a team that went from mid to low table to second place and a COVID breakout away from playing in 2 straight championship games. But that's the thing is this is a team that's trying to find themselves because we had so much turnover. If you can eke out draws during that time frame and figure it out together, once it clicks, it's going to click well, and you can make a push. I don't know that we can get up to second place this year, but you get yourself into third or fourth place, you're in pretty good position at that point.
No, definitely. And I, talking to Peter off and on, before, after games, these team talks throughout the season, he has consistently stated that he feels this team this year, just based on their talent alone, could have beaten the championship winning team in 2021. And the way they're clicking now, I'm not sure I could really argue with it. Like the level of the league has gone up since then. And when these guys are on, like in our team this year, when they're on, they're on. Like there's not a question of whether they deserve to be here, whether they should be representing Union Omaha. They are fantastically talented, and it really has just been how things have been clicking. So
yeah,
I see a playoff push in the cards. But this game this weekend, I think, is going to be a very, very tough one and ultimately a deciding factor in how the season goes.
Well, and let's be real. You go into Colorado against a team on the streak like they are and you beat them, the confidence level that you're already at a pretty good high is going to go through the roof at that point because you know that you're going to be able to I know. I went there. Hopefully none of them do. But we went there.
All right, let's
do. It would be. I think it'd be interesting in an off-season debate of matching up the best 11 from the championship team versus this team because I think offensively, at least up top, that 21 team would give this team's defense fits. But I think front to back, this team probably has more talent across front to back that team did. So it would just be an interesting experiment. This is one of those in college football or like pro football. This is the time of year, the summer, where they talk about stupid things like how much corn did somebody eat. We need those topics in like December when nothing's happening and we can go, hey, what do you think would happen if this 11 played this 11 and completely come up with a hypothetical.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can start sliding in our DMs on Twitter, Instagram, Threads. Like, start sliding in our DMs. Start tagging us and stuff. If you want these off-season questions answered, we'll start compiling a list for when content's slow. But I really would like to explore, especially the guys that have continued their pro careers after leaving Union Omaha, looking at their stats since and like where the ceiling is there versus our guys where they're at now. And
yeah,
I think it's definitely worth looking into. But let's get some score predictions for this. What are you feeling?
I'm thinking I'm gonna go 2-1 Omaha.
All right. It's gonna be 3-0 Omaha. But I'm feeling a Connor goal in this one. He's gonna throw it back open cup. Think Noe's gonna get a brace here. I don't think Noe's gonna quite hit his 12, but come within one. And it's I think it can be done.
Then we'll be hitting that Rocky Mountain High. Hey, can I plug something for Monica and Football for the World?
Well, that's what I was going to ask, if you were going to plug anything.
Yeah, so Monica and I, obviously, friend of the podcast and friend of ours outside of podcasting too. But Monica and I were messaging about the World Cup predictors because she and I were messaging about the World Cup coming up. So Football for the World on the official FIFA bracket predictions site has a group that you can join, pick your winners, and for $20 per bracket, you can be a part of their drawing. The winner wins $250. The second place gets $50, and any leftover money is a donation to Football for the World, which, as we all know, goes to great causes across the United States. But fun way to kind of get in on a little pool action, and I think this World Cup's going to be a lot stranger than people actually think it's going to be.
Yeah,
and so I think that it can be a lot of fun.
I am definitely not as certain about this World Cup as I have been about previous. That being said, yes, go on, do that with Football for the World. Monica is a friend of the pod and only friend of the pod, no other places. We do not talk to her outside of podcasting. That just doesn't happen. But the
her
team,
friend definitely not my neighbor.
No, definitely not. That just doesn't seem likely. She does not embed herself in communities and become friends of everybody she meets.
No.
Union Omaha, though, is hosting a watch party at Site One Brewing for the first U.S. women's national team game of the World Cup against Vietnam.
Vietnam on the 21st, 8 p.m.
21st, 8 p.m., Site One Brewing. They do have an Eventbrite up. It is free to sign up. However, that is to make sure that there are enough seats and enough staff for it. So if you are planning on attending, sign up there and show up. It's going to be a good time. Support U.S. national soccer and get out and support the team. Skills competitions are going live across the state with Nebraska Soccer and Union Omaha. Keep an eye out on both of their social medias for ways to get involved. John and I talked about that last week, so a lot of opportunities to get involved. We continue to have some fantastic content out on the blog. Make sure you're liking, subscribing. We are live on Threads, which is new social media.
That's all you, bro.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's a decent platform, but if you're on Threads, find us. We'll try and post everything we can on there. Keep an eye on our Instagram, because any event we're at that the team is at, we'll try and go live. We do have footage from the Special Olympics game, the unified game. You'll probably get a crick in your neck from trying to watch it, but we try and provide what isn't actually being broadcast by the team out there, and to whatever capacity we're available to. But our Instagram has mostly moved to that formatting, so get out there, check it out. And One last question for you, Ryan. Who gives a hoot? We
We
do.
do.